You're listening to Gospel Rain, where the truth, authority, and power of God's Word take center stage. Join Dr. Matt and Dr. Micah as they dive deep into the great doctrines of the Christian faith, explore how the gospel transforms our world today, and reflect on the stories that shape our walk with Christ. We hope you enjoy this week's episode of Gospel Rain.
Matt, you probably agree with me that you have a love-hate relationship with social media. I would say I have a love-hate relationship with social media. Mm-hmm. What's funny is I see this from time to time on Facebook in particular. It'll, say on this day 10 years ago or on this day 5 years ago.
Like a memory.
Yeah, like a memory kind of thing pop up. So every now and then I'll look through those, and it's kind of cool because if someone was tagged in it, you have this memory 6 years ago with Matt Brown or something like that. And but I'll go back to when I got on Facebook. I think it was 2009. Meredith and I laugh about this all the time because it'll be a post and it'll say Micah Carter in a little face, and it'll say is eating a box of candy. Like not a statement, but it's like Micah Carter is doing this, this. No punctuation, just stupid, man. And we laugh at that all the time, just like we didn't know what we were doing in social media.
Nobody did.
And then obviously it morphs and it changes, and then you layer in, Twitter and Instagram and whatever, everything else. And when I was at Lifeway, I had a chance to serve in a communications team, to lead a communications team at Lifeway, and social media was kind of Twitter was fairly new, and we were wanting to track engagements and that kind of stuff. And so I learned a great deal about social media and kind of enjoyed it. I enjoyed getting into it, the accessibility. Mm-hmm. For example, I remember when Osama bin Laden was killed, I was sitting at home just kind of scrolling, and The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, tweeted, "We got him." And it was like, what is that all about? It was 2 hours before the official announcement of killing Osama bin Laden. So the world news, accessibility, all that kind of stuff is very interesting. But I started noticing over time that social media started functioning in some different ways. It started feeling to me like an echo chamber, like either all these people are saying the same thing, and it's all your people saying the same thing, or you're in the wrong echo chamber because you're hearing all the stuff you don't like to hear. That was one thing. I also started noticing that social media began kind of taking on almost kind of like a hostile, kind of critical, gotcha kind of moment. And I did not enjoy that. I didn't enjoy that, watching other people go through stuff, and then world events, something would happen, and it would take a life of its own. And I still think it's kind of functioning in that way. Facebook, all my friends are posting pictures of their family. I get a lot of scripture stuff, a lot of church-related stuff. I love it. So typically older people. Instagram's where my kids are. They're posting stuff. They don't text me. They send me messages through Instagram, which I think is interesting. I'm not on Twitter anymore. Twitter just is a dumpster fire, I think. But TikTok, not on that either. And that's a dumpster fire too.
It is. I have a different kind of relationship with different things,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Facebook, you get information or tons of ads now.
Ton of ads.
That's like all there is now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do much with Instagram. I've got Instagram. I don't really look at it much. But it really is just, pictures, and I'm okay with that. And Twitter, I have gone back and forth a little bit. I've had a love-hate relationship with Twitter, mostly hate.
You still on that, though? You still
I will look at it occasionally, and mainly it's just because of somebody posting something that I follow or something I want to see. Mm-hmm. But I don't doom scroll on Twitter anymore. I used to just doom scroll, and it's dumpster fire. It will ignite anger, and bitterness and oppression, depression. It will ignite that in you quicker than anything.
I honestly think I went through that, and that's one of the reasons why I got off of Twitter. And Meredith said, within 2 weeks, you're a different person. Mm-hmm. I was like, really? Because I felt it. I felt that
yeah.
kind of stifling.
It is. It's kind of, I don't know, to me anyway, that was kind of my relationship with Twitter. So I still have it. I don't really look at TikTok. I don't at all. I've never had TikTok. I've just never been on that before. I guess there are other things out there too. I just don't use those. Mainly for me,
Yeah.
it's just Facebook.
Yeah, and most of the time, if you curate your followers, you kind of know what you're going to be getting on Facebook and Instagram
Yeah,
and
right.
whatever. So social media kind of has impacted us in a very unique way, I would say, in the last 6 months, maybe less than that. I'd like to explore that as a conversation with you today, as we think back, something that came to us in the world of social media, primarily through TikTok, that surprised us, came out of the clear blue,
Yeah.
and affected you personally, affected our church, our staff, and we can spend a little time thinking through, and maybe some of the things that we learned from that season, some of the cautions we have, some of the pastoral recommendations or whatever. Tell us what I'm talking. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Kinda
We
remind
haven't
us.
really taken a lot of opportunity to unpack maybe all this for our church family and all that. Maybe a little bit we have in certain situations, but I don't know. I felt like this might be a good opportunity on a podcast where we can, because it's sort of longer format where we
Yeah.
can talk about it and
Yeah.
talk about some things. But some of our folks, at least in our church and in the social media world, that watch us on a platform, podcast platform, or listen to it either way, might have heard that Germantown Baptist Church we're kind of caught up in a little bit of a I don't know, I've called it a social media campaign. It was several months ago. It was kind of called that, I think, by the person who created it, but it was based on a phone call that was made to our church. We had somebody answer the phone, and then that kind of got spun up into. It actually went viral, and in a very negative way, at least toward us, our church, myself, and others. And so that's kind of what happened. It was months ago, and so now at least the energy around that has subsided and died. There's still a comment or two about it
Sure.
made on social media,
But the irony of it, I think, for me and for you and most of our staff, is because we're not on TikTok, we had really no idea that this was churning out there, taking on a life of its own, until we started hearing about it here and there from certain people. And by the time we recognized what was going on, it already kind of hit its stride.
Yeah. So the story is really simple. It was back a few months ago. We received a call at Germantown Baptist Church, just our general office phone line. Our receptionist answered the call, and it was a female caller who had asked for help for her hungry child. The way she phrased it, something like that. And I've gone back to listen to that phone call a couple of times. But the receptionist took the phone call, forwarded it to our pastor on call at the time. We always have a pastor on call to receive
Every day.
phone calls and walk-in guests, and to be able to take care of hospital visits and those kind of things. So we always have a pastor on call. Well, our pastor on call took the call that day, had a brief conversation with the receptionist to say, here's what she's calling about. Pastor answered the phone. She asked, again, same thing, my child hasn't eaten in a day or so. I want to see if I can get some formula. And his answer was, well, we have benevolence at the church, but that benevolence is for helping our church members. And to which she kind of asked again a second time, is there any way somebody can have some formula and I can just come to the church and get it? And again, he answered, we don't have any formula here at the church, and we don't have a food bank. Again, he actually made that comment too on the phone. We don't have a food bank at GBC, and our benevolence is for our church members only. She said, thank you, goodbye, and hung up. Well, that was the end of it. There's more context to all that, and we can fill in the gaps as we go. But that's kind of what happened.
Part of the context was, 30 more some odd churches. I think she called a mosque. I think she called, a variety of different places, predominantly churches.
Yeah, I think final number, I think it was like 41 or 42 churches that she called. So it was a phone call. And again, there's more context. I'm just kind of recalling the conversation itself on the phone. That was kind of the end of the call. It lasted, I think I went back and looked at it, It was a 57-second phone call. Is all it took for her to have that conversation with him. So later that day, I can't remember what day that was in a week, our staff was alerted that Germantown Baptist Church had been tagged on social media, particularly on TikTok, of a video of a phone call conversation with this lady and one of our pastors. Well, at the time, that's all we knew. Didn't understand any more than that it had kind of popped up on social media. And the video went viral very quickly.
It did.
And the female who had made the call and videoed the call of her personally making that call, and then she posted the call on TikTok. When she did that, she's doing that to comment on the failure and the hypocrisy of Germantown Baptist Church, people who talk about Jesus, but we don't want to help a starving baby. And so that was the issue. And then very quickly, within hours, especially within 24 hours, it was viral. I was getting text messages and phone calls from people pretty quickly. Hey, did you see that your name is being mentioned? Germantown Baptist Church name is being mentioned out there. And again, we were kind of picking it all up. I think it was a Friday. We some of our pastors are off on Friday. Some of us work on Friday, but the ones who were off on Friday, we weren't in the office hearing kind of what was being talked about, at least in the office. So we were kind of getting it secondhand from text messages and our pastor group text that we have. We're texting back and forth, and so we're in real time. We're trying to process. Wait, what's happening? What do you mean? I don't know anything about a phone call. So we had to kind of pretty quickly debrief and try to figure out what had happened. So anyway, that's kind of the phone call, and that's kind of what set it up and got spun up into a real viral thing.
What surprised us is why our church got so viral. There were other churches that had some virality too, but far and away GBC just. It still puzzles us to this day why.
It does, and our communications pastor was, I think that's probably all he did for at least several days, was field questions and comments on social media and trying to filter all this and figure out where all it had gone. But that original TikTok video got spun up into multiple other things that were done, and we'll talk about too, that got even worse than that. But it was trying to just kind of figure it all out for the first 24 hours for it. And that's kind of the nature of something going viral is it's not usually just one comment or one thing. It gets picked up by bunches of other people who want people to listen to them tell the story.
That's
and
right.
Share it and like it and follow it and everything else. And so that gets legs.
Yeah.
And if you're kind of trying to figure out where all it went, where's this coming from or where's it going, it takes a little bit. It's unsettling, especially for people. We're not. Some people are just they know
like
this
that kind
world.
Of stuff.
They
understand
like it. They live in it every day. They get dinged for something that they've said publicly. So some people just live this every day. For us, we don't, and so it was real new for us.
So within 24 hours, processing all stuff, by Saturday night, if I recall, you determined, okay, I probably need to address this at church tomorrow. And then kind of walk us through that Sunday, and then maybe even kind of the days that followed once we recognize, this issue has hit, it's gone viral for whatever reason, here's what it is, and here we are, we've got to address it somehow.
Yeah, so the original TikTok video was put out there, but then there were a lot of people commenting on it that were just random people in the social media world, but also people in our own community, Germantown City, Collierville, town of Collierville, which is adjacent to us, people that are connected to GBC, members of GBC, and so forth. So we had lots of people kind of all over the place commenting on it. And so we very quickly as pastors kind of gathered our thoughts and figured out, okay, where do we go from here? And what do we do? So matter of fact, we had people show up at church on that Sunday morning.
That's right.
To video with their phones what was going to happen.
That was interesting too, because we had a fairly I would say a major children's program, but we had enough profile with our kids that we probably had a lot of grandparents, a lot of people showing up for the kids program, and these other folks were kind of in bed. So I'm just thinking of that Sunday morning, people would be videoing their kids, but what was interesting is when you got up to speak during the pastor prayer time, people were recording you.
Yeah.
They weren't recording the kids.
Right.
They were recording
and I was
you.
prepared for my comments. I wasn't prepared because I had a written statement to the church, but I had not thought that there would be people in the service recording me. I mean, it's all recorded anyway. Actually, we weren't recording that Sunday. I think we decided. Is that true?
I think that's right.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
It was like it's gonna.
We were recording. We weren't live streaming.
That's right. We weren't live streaming that morning, so we just decided to do that. But I didn't know there'd be other people in the room. Well, the reason why, what we understood by that time, our security team, which we have a security team, all of them were alerted. Our security director was alerted to a lot of things that were being talked about on the social media platforms, and one of those things was there's potentially a group of people that were organizing to be here at our church that Sunday morning in protest with cans of baby formula, rush the stage, throw the baby formula up on the stage. So we were alerted to things like that that get caught up in the social media web, and our communications pastor was able to say, look, just so we understand, there are groups that are talking about it, but there's actually a local group or a group, whether they were local or not, I don't know, organizing to be some kind of presence on campus. And so we don't know the risk there. Could that be dangerous? We don't know. We don't know what they plan to do or say. If they plan to have an outburst in the service publicly, we were prepared for that as well. We had security like we always do,
and which didn't happen.
It didn't happen. But we did have the people that were filming in the service, which kind of raises the level of your alertness level, at least, that something is going on in the room that doesn't normally happen. There are people here that aren't normally here. And it's okay. We welcome guests, but when you've got a phone held up in front of you at a kind of which would seem to some people to be a random moment, some dude is up there just talking, it just felt it felt kind of weird and funny in the room. But anyway, we had increased security presence for the next few weeks because of people posting their own videos on social media of them showing up on our campus with a can of formula and putting it on our front step right in front of the door, saying, here, you people are awful, let me give you some formula so you can help other people. We had people creating their own things as a way to hop on the bandwagon of, let's beat this church down,
to be
because
honest,
they failed.
To get clicks.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
and
that's
it
what you
was.
did.
It was. These spin-off things were getting their own little traction. And
Yeah. And the original video we found, and we have all, you can get all the numbers and the data on all that, but it had quickly gone viral. And we understand what happens on TikTok. There's a monetary value to TikTok.
Sure.
And when you get a certain amount of clicks, you get money for it. And if you increase your amount of followers and all that within a certain amount of time very quickly and something ramps up, you get money for all that. And so people are hoping to get money and clicks and all that. Everything is monetized. So we're not idiots. I mean, we know we know that there's a motive to a lot of this kind of stuff. But anyway, people sending nasty messages to the church, to me, people sending packages within the next few days of baby formula to the church along with the nasty message, that kind of stuff. Just people trying to continue the offense.
Well, and it really took a life of its own in a sense that we'd received hundreds of phone calls and phone call messages about this issue. Now, honestly, were surprising in many ways. I'd say probably one or two out of hundreds and hundreds. One or two was like, man, I can't understand this. Can you help us understand this? Most of them were vulgar, laced with expletives, go to hell. I mean, just it's things, and people would kind of declare themselves as a Christian on the front end of the call, and then they would just
it'd murder us in effigy.
Go just to really dark places, and we kept all those. I listened to a bunch of them myself. Had to stop after a point because I'm like, this is not edifying in any way.
I listened to very few of them. The ones that I got sent that were especially special. Like I told our staff, I think one Tuesday in a staff meeting, it was right after, right in the middle of all this. I said, I told our staff, I said, I have learned some things from all this, from nasty emails and voicemails, those kind of things. I did not know that you could use the F word in all parts of speech within the matter of one sentence, as
Yeah,
a
in
verb,
one
a
sentence.
noun, an adjective, all kinds of things just in one sentence. And so we got called every name under the book and
Yeah.
or under the sky. But all that to say, that Sunday morning it was okay. Well, what do we do? What do we say? Do we say anything? And so we felt like it was. I had the need to be able to, as the senior pastor, to be able to address our church because there were a lot of people asking questions like, "What is this? Do we not
is
help
this?"
anybody?
Yeah.
We don't help mamas and babies that are hungry. I can't believe it." So there's all kinds of these questions going on in our community and our church, and so I just needed to stand up and address it as
Yeah.
a church, and I did. I read a prepared statement that I had worked that I guess that Saturday on when we heard about all of it going viral, just to try to set some things. And I'm not going to read that here on the podcast, but I've got a copy of it. But of all the things that I said, and
I think you did the right thing. I think you did the right thing. I mean, we had already heard from some of our church members as to why we haven't addressed it and why aren't we jumping into the fray and doing all this other kind of stuff. So it was very intentional on your part to not just wing it, but to have some thoughtful kind of response for the body of Christ. We're number one, we're aware of it. We're not unaware of it.
correct.
Number two, let's put this in a context of where's this coming from? What's the reality for us as a church family? And boom.
Yeah.
And I thought you did that.
Well, I hope to, and I hoped to do that. But what I found out is that in a church our size, when you get in there to do all that, there are a number of people in the room that have no idea even what you're talking about.
That's right.
They're not on social media. They don't do any of this. And so this is the first time they're hearing anything about it. So part of what I had to do in that statement is just kind of lay the groundwork for, okay, if you didn't know, this is what has happened over the last few days. And so I kind of set up the scenario. There's a phone call, whatever, just like I did a minute ago for us here. But my point in sharing what I did was not just to say, this is what happened, but here's kind of what I want you to understand, some things I want to leave you with as a church. And then we were going to pray and then move on with our worship service.
That's right.
It wasn't just a service to deal with all that. We spent the part of maybe 10 minutes dealing with it. But I won't read the whole statement, but I'll read part of these things that I said to the church as a few thoughts that I wanted to leave them with as we entered into kind of worship time. One of the very first thing I said is that we will work on our approach to benevolence and our responses to those who call with true needs. There's always room for improvement. This is our interest in everything that God's called us to do, not just this. This is always our posture is, hey, can we help? Can we improve? Can we get better at anything that we do, not just benevolence, but anything? That was the first thing I wanted to share with our church. Those who might be assuming, based on the TikTok, that we don't do any of that right.
Right.
It was to say, no, there's plenty that we do right, but where we get it wrong, we just want to make sure that we're doing things better, right? So let's just adjust. The second thing I said is that GBC is doing great ministry in our community and around the world, and we're not only going to continue, but as you've heard me say, we have plans for expansion of our missions ministry, and we don't do any of that in response to TikTok. We do it in response to the gospel of Jesus, that He's told us to do these things, and we've always been doing these things. And thirdly, I said, let me, because I thought this was good for clarification, let me state a fact. The video that has celebrated what is believed to be unrighteous behavior on our part is itself an unrighteous, fake attempt to set a trap for us and derail the ministry of GBC and steal our joy and confidence as the people of God. And what I meant by that was it was a setup. The lady who was calling us was from Kentucky. We can look and see where she's from on her TikTok profile. She's not even from here.
No.
She was saying on that phone call, "Can I come to the church and you give me some formula?" The implication, what she was trying to make clear on the video is that it sounded like I'm down the road. Let me come get some formula. It was never.
Not the case.
It was never. It was.
She
never
actually had
real.
a video prior to this campaign where she articulated that what I'm going to do is I'm going to use deception. I'm going to lie to them and present this thing and see who passes the test, who fails the test. So
Yeah.
I think your assessment of that is correct.
Yeah.
A gotcha moment, but it's rooted in really an unrighteous way to accomplish
Right.
a righteous thing.
And that's what I was. That was
Yeah.
kind of that last part of that statement. Is I said we seek to walk in light and walk in the truth, but the attempt to disparage GBC is neither light nor truth. It was fake. And
was
as a
fake.
matter of fact, in the TikTok video, there's a crying baby in the video. We have the original audio of the phone call, which I've gone back and listened to again. There is no crying baby. She adds that as an emotional part of the video, so that people would appeal to her. That we even hear a baby crying and we won't answer. That was never the case. She added that in. So it was fake, and I wanted our people to understand this lady doesn't even live here. She doesn't even know us. She doesn't care about GBC. And she's done the same thing, as you said, with multiple churches around the country that she has no connection to. But it is kind of it's a gotcha moment. There's plenty of proof in the original video. And then also going to say that God is up to incredible things at GBC, and when that happens, the evil one loves to create noise both within the church and without. And let's see, another statement I said was this will likely not be the last time GBC is singled out on social media, because we live in a scam culture, a gotcha culture. And hopefully our conversation about all this will fortify our resolve in the future to believe better and trust godly leadership. But I said, let me be clear, the social media world of armchair video and keyboard warriors who only care about throwing shade from hundreds of miles away will not care if we get it right, or even if we take to social media to tell the whole story. In the words of one modern-day songwriter, haters gonna hate. And that, I'm just saying, that's true. A person who made it's interesting, the person who made that original TikTok video, I don't know her. Maybe she'll listen to the podcast, and maybe she'll respond to us in some way. But I will say that even after the fact, it's all over with. We've had opportunity to go back and try to do better, revisit some conversation. How can we do things better?
Yeah, we'll talk about some of that.
There's never an intention, I'm sure, on her part to ever go back and say, I was a fake. I misled them. But they did this and got it right, and so let me applaud them. And whatever, you don't ever expect that kind of thing to happen, because that doesn't get clicks and likes. No, it's the dumpster fire that gets the clicks and likes. And but anyway, and then I said, we're here as the people of God to worship and lift up the name of Jesus, and we're going to do just that. And we're going to pray, and we're going to dedicate babies, because that was baby dedication that morning,
yes,
oddly enough.
Yes, it was.
And I said, for whom we will provide formula if it is needed. And we're going to preach the word and respond in faith. So again, there's more context to the whole thing, and we'll clarify some of that. But that's kind of how we responded immediately on that Sunday.
Who's that pastor? He's a bald-headed guy, got a gray beard. His kind of slogan is "Saved, not soft," and I think that is interesting, because that we kind of feel that same way. It's important to communicate to our church. You may have even said it this way, I'm not sure, but to know that we're just not going to crumple like a house of cards at persecution or criticism of any kind, but you need to know you have strong leadership.
Yeah, that's right. That's kind of the way I've worded it, is that people have asked me, and I've had a number of people, even church members, that have come to me and criticized me for the way that I responded. Because in that response, I didn't say this is in the opening remarks or something like that. I referred to her, the TikTok lady, whoever she is, referred to her with a couple of different words. I called her a pro-abortionist, but that's
how she identifies.
She identifies herself that way. I didn't call her anything that she's not self-identifying as.
Right.
But so I had people come to me and ask me why I was being so critical, why I was being so hateful to that lady, why I wouldn't share love. And well, there's a what part of what the church needs to see is that their pastoral leadership, particularly myself, because I was the one reading it, they need to know that their senior pastor has a spine.
Yeah.
That I'm not just going to fold up when it comes to somebody disparaging the church that I've been called to steward and shepherd.
Well, we felt that very keenly. It took a turn and got very personal to you, which we can talk about in a minute. But at the start of it, this was a misrepresentation of Germantown Baptist Church.
Correct.
So for you as a senior pastor, you're going to say, no, none of this is correct. And we felt like as a pastoral team, we need to encourage our people and stand in defense of our people who are weekly serving and giving.
Correct.
And, just like, so that was very important. I've known you for a long time. I know when you're mad. I know when you're upset. You were not that way when you were speaking. You were clear. You were stating the facts. And, it's just, this is kind of that razor's edge in so many ways when it comes to pastoral ministry, whether it's humor or something else, confidence being mistaken as arrogance, in passion as anger, clarity as, being domineering or something. And it's just really interesting how some certain people responded to that in a way that you were not communicating.
No.
But they felt like you
Yeah,
were,
and I got that criticism too, that I was being arrogant in my response. People interpret things the way that they want to. You can interpret it, people's words and actions how you want to interpret them, I guess. It doesn't mean your interpretation is right, though.
Right.
I was not in any way trying to be arrogant. What I was trying to do partly is to show my church that I steward and shepherd and care deeply for. I care deeply for the reputation of our church and our staff that answered the phone. I care deeply.
Yes.
That is very personal to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to make sure I was very clear and confident in the way I was speaking, that it is not going to be my response to fold up and apologize for something that we didn't do, because it was, again, a fake scenario. And that's partly why I wanted to address it on Sunday, was not just to show kind of that we're united as a pastoral staff and our leadership is united, we understand what's going on, but part of what I wanted to do is to be able to show people in our church and in our community or remind them, this is a false scenario. This is a setup. There's no crying baby.
Yeah.
There was no hungry mother.
No.
In that instance, there was not. And I also wanted to say to them what limited perspective the TikTok video gave, because of the way that phone call went. Limited perspective was that we only help our church members.
Yes.
Well, that is not the only thing that we do. But I wanted to make clear: do we help our church members?
Yes.
Absolutely, and we do that
unapologetically.
We're not gonna apologize for helping our members. We're required by God in the Scripture to take care of, love the brothers and sisters, and by that people will know Jesus is your mind if you love each other. So we do love each other and help each other. But we just tried to say some things, and those are the reasons why we tried to say it.
You did good, and I think I would say probably the vast majority of response from our church was, thank you for standing up, thank you for addressing this, and blah, blah, blah. But there was a disappointing element in some ways, too, how I would say a minor aspect of our church took it a very different direction.
Yeah.
And it hurts. It's disappointing.
It is, and because it shows showed a distrust in leadership. They didn't, because of the way we responded or our lack of response and their expectations of timing and all that, the way that they wish we would have responded, thought we should have responded, and all of that. People just determined that they weren't going to stay on board with the leadership at GBC or the people here, and decided to maybe leave because of the whole thing, and that's okay. I've told folks, both those who have sat down with me and those who chosen not to give me reasons for all this. I never beg anybody to stay. I'm trusting that when you leave GBC, you've prayed about it, and if God's told you it's time for you to leave, who am I to get in the way of that? I won't beg anybody to stay at GBC. But that's a small amount of people who just said, I just don't think I can stay. I don't think the environment is good for me, or I don't think they did it right. I'm fine by me. If you don't think we did it right, that's okay. Well, we don't always get it right, and that was one of the things that I wanted to say.
But that is part of the rub, because what we were hearing getting it right meant was apologizing.
Yeah.
And our first reaction is, for what?
Yeah. And to whom?
And to whom?
Yeah.
It's
Who
like,
do we apologize to?
That made no sense. Still makes no sense to me.
No,
and we can talk about as we kind of move into this next part. But beyond that, the moment itself, we felt pastorally as a team, it's not lost on us. We recognize, this has actually served to help us lean into some areas maybe that we hadn't addressed in a while, in terms of, articulating our benevolence. What do we do for non-members? How do we utilize our partners that we use?
Lots of partners.
Phone calls and pastoral duties, and I mean it it helped us in a sense say, okay, yeah, it's a good time to look at it, and we're going to look at it right now.
Yeah, and help to be able to at least expose to our church family in ways that maybe that they weren't familiar with at the time. That we have partners all over the city, and we have partners all over the world where we give money and we share things and we help feed the poor, and we help do a number of things benevolently.
That's right.
All over the place. But we just felt like it was an opportunity for us to be able to expose it again and say, okay, there's question about whether or not we're doing any of this. Well, we are, and here's how we're doing all of that. And it's kind of renewed our energy to be able to share all of that. And so that's actually been a positive that has come from it, is for us to be able to say those things publicly.
Yes. And I, with their, interestingly enough, I came across this book. I'm not going to be able to find the quote. Maybe I can at some point as I hear you keep talking.
Well,
no, here it is. It's the book is The Reason for Church by Brad Edwards, and it's got a lot of subjects in it that are really helpful. One chapter on social media.
Yeah.
And I took a look at it. But listen to this statement. The short form limitations of social media teaches us that truth requires neither context nor nuance.
I remember that statement.
That's a very important thing, because the context of benevolence for our church and how we articulate we care for our own people. We also care for people that are non-members. We just have a pathway to do that, different pathways of doing that if it's not specific to what we do in the church. That's completely lost, and you never get to really tell that story because it's just soundbite, and it's boom, it's viral, and man, we're just horrible people. We just don't care about starving babies.
Yeah.
None of that is true whatsoever.
No, and that's what gets picked up in a thing like that, and that's what gets championed, and it gets zoomed in on, regardless of all the, like you said, no context or nuance to any of that. It gets, one issue gets zoomed in on as if that defines the rest of the ministry of GBC and the people of GBC, which is simply untrue.
Yep.
So we had to deal with all that, and we did that on a Sunday morning, and at least for that moment, felt like we had done what we needed to do to address that one issue. But
agree.
But
that wasn't the end of the story.
No, it was not.
What became even more surprising is we had another lady from Chicago.
That's right.
Do some spin-off stuff, and she probably fancies herself as a internet sleuth, or I don't know. But she went down the rabbit hole. She jumped on the issue itself, got fixated on our church, got fixated on you in particular, and just made video after video after video creating this narrative about misuse of money and just all kinds of, some of it's humorous now when you look back on it.
Yeah.
It wasn't then because
No.
it's ridiculous, but and it could happen to any of us because, and this is part of one of the dangers of social media. I think of it primarily in terms of children, and what you say about your kids, what you post about your kids. But like if I was wearing, for example, a shirt that had Harvard University on it, well, I suppose one could think I went to Harvard and I'm uppity, and whatever else. But I'm like, what if I just visited Harvard? I'm like, when am I ever going to be here?
I went to the bookstore.
Yeah, I went to the bookstore, got a T-shirt like I would for any other, whatever.
Yeah. Well, this whole thing got kind of spun up from there. So this lady in Chicago, that's kind of an interesting thing. And it was, I'll say interesting. It is kind of comical to look back at it and think of some of the things that were done and said by her and others. But she kind of created this separate social media frenzy. This is apart from the original lady.
Yeah, the
in
original lady
Kentucky.
kind of faded away, and this other lady.
She got enough video likes, I guess, or whatever posts. But the other lady kind of picked up the offense and assumed, I think, because we don't help hurting babies and we're an affluent church, where is the money?
Yeah.
And I think that was partly what she was trying to accomplish, is let's follow the money, right? So she created her own social media kind of frenzy, and this one aimed accusations at GBC for mishandling of funds and money, and me personally. And so she threw out a series of videos that she did. She
Accusing.
identified me as the pastor. She posted a picture of my home.
Doxed you.
She doxed me. She posted a picture of my kids on social media, wearing their uniforms that they wear to school. They go to a Christian school, and so again, these people must be well to do and they're rich. Why did they get rich? Not rich, by the way. But
driving all these
but it's
sports cars and stuff.
Accusations of a number of things. And I wrote those down. I'm gonna mention those, all the things that I was accused of.
Well, when you go through some of these things, I kind of find it laughable as your executive pastor, who is responsible for dotting the I's and crosses the T's,
tracking
on
the funds,
pretty much everything. In fact, I did it today. All of our expense reports, everything. The amounts of money, the things that you were quote unquote buying, or the church was buying for you, and I just look at that. I was like, bless your heart. Like, there's not even a world in which what the information you think you have is rooted in reality.
Yeah. Exactly.
But in this video, it's like, oh, what about this? What about that? And then put it all together, and all of a sudden you come out looking like a televangelist, man.
I know I did.
Like, where's your plane,
and
son?
It did kind of get very comical to wonder
What's next?
What am I going to accuse of next? You know? So and which I'll mention in a minute. But one of the things that came out of that is that I had a lot of people, both publicly, people I didn't know, random in the social media world, and people that I knew, that were telling me I needed to defend myself and defend GBC publicly. What they meant by that was social media.
Right.
Go on social media and say it's not true. Go on social media and give proof that it's not true. Go on social media and give an account for all these kind of things. To which I was silent. I did not give an account to any of that.
Yeah, but that was intentional, though, Matt. I mean, it's like, do we have to be accountable to her when she's spewing nonsense?
No.
I mean,
no, because it was nonsense.
It was.
There was so many things that were so far in left field that I was accused of, the church was accused of, that again, comical. It was like, I don't owe her an answer for any of that. It's false. It's completely false. But it's sad. I mean, we had to involve an attorney on behalf of our church. To help us look into these issues, like what do we do here? What is our response?
But it did achieve its purpose, and part of that purpose was it cast doubt in the minds of even some of our church members about some of these things. I hate to say that was the case, but that's true.
It is true.
Such that it was important to articulate, and just to clarify, I'm pretty sure y'all know this, but let me just tell you some of the things and address it.
Yeah, so here's my philosophy on all that. Again, getting told by all these people I needed to defend myself publicly. My answer for Germantown Baptist Church, my answer to our church was, I don't owe accountability to anybody in the social media world. I don't owe a defense of what I've done, how I've spent money or the churches. But I don't owe anybody any of that. But here's the thing: I do owe accountability to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and I owe an accountability to the church that I steward and serve. And so, in our what we call our church family conference, our business meeting that came up in November, December. Anyway, it was right in the middle of all of this. I stood before our church family in that business meeting and said, but I do owe an account to you. And a lot of things I've been accused of a lot of things, so has the church. And so let me answer to those things. And so I stood in front of our church and I read, basically I'm going to read what I'm going to read again here, again, some of which I won't read all of it, but I did basically share with our church that as far as benevolence goes, here was what I said. We're working on a plan to make sure with our benevolence that it is more available to members so that we can continue to kind of shape our benevolence to our members, but also to our community. In the right way, because there has to be processes and accountability when it comes to giving things and giving money away to people.
100%.
They're just
100%.
there's a right way.
And everybody does this. This is not new to anybody.
That's correct.
There are boundaries and or limitations of things you will do and won't do. And even the ministry partners that we have, they have a channel. They don't go outside that. If someone came to them for specific benevolence, they're not going to just do everything that everybody asks all the time. There is a strategy and a reason for what we do and what we don't.
That's right. So I wanted to let the church know we're working on a plan to do that better. Also wanted to let the church know we're in a process of helping all of our staff handle phone calls, both fake and real. How do we address the issue here and there? And so,
like, I don't want to answer the phone. If,
exactly.
What am I going to say? What
exactly.
am I,
So you may even want to address that as far as our policy goes in a minute. But I also wanted to let a church know that membership benevolence is a tiny fraction of what we do. Yes, we do membership benevolence, but when you compare that to the way that we do mission work and benevolence work all over the city, our state, our country, and around the world, our in-house benevolence is just a very, very small fraction, infinitesimal compared to the hundreds of thousands of dollars that are spent elsewhere. And our plans to do even more, which much precede this whole thing. And then to let them know a couple of other things in that Church Family Conference. So the social media stuff I addressed too. Benevolence I addressed, and those were the things that I did. And then we addressed the social media.
Well, can I give a couple of examples maybe right there? Like when somebody calls in with the kind of a generic benevolence, here's the honest truth. Most of the time when it's a legit kind of issue, people will give us more information than we can need. Whole sob story, I mean, their name, information, whatever. If they're really seeking help, it's very evident that they do that. This felt wrong right off the bat. It wasn't, there was no information given, no name. So one of the things that we wanted to make sure when someone calls our church, we want to, number one, know if they're local. Do you have the ability to come down and meet with us? Maybe we can pray for you, pray with you, see what kind of need we can help you with, or if we have a partner that we can connect you to that can actually meet your needs.
That's right.
So that was very important, and that's kind of whoever answers the phone before even getting to a pastor, just to get a little bit of information. And so when the pastor does pick up the call, there's an understanding of what are we really working with here.
Right.
And the pastors, whereas before we have all these partners locally that we can point people to for specific needs, but I don't think that was readily available. There were a couple of channels we had to get through to get that information. Now it's all collected in one spot. Every pastor has it. Anybody calls who's the minister on call, we have all of our partners ready to make connections.
Yeah, and I want to say too, and I probably don't need to do. He doesn't expect me to do this. He doesn't even know we're having this conversation yet. But I will say the pastor who answered the phone, I will say in his, at least in some kind of defense. Well, not defense, but in some setting, some kind of context. Nobody knew that when he answered the phone that day, just earlier that day, he had helped his father-in-law in a scam that I believe it was his father-in-law, if I'm not mistaken, that had gotten himself into the thick of a scam, a phone call scam, where he almost gave away, I think it was $1,000 to something that was totally illegitimate. And this pastor had to step in and help him kind of untangle that and say, you just got caught in a scam. A lot of our church members don't know that had just happened. I think it was that day, earlier that morning, or it was the day before. And I found that out later too. He just said, look, I know the way I answered the phone, but to be honest with you, when I answered the phone, it felt like that again. It felt like I was possibly being scammed. I didn't know, and I didn't really know exactly how to deal with that. And I just kind of went with my gut. It felt like a scam, and I was just going to leave it there. Well, it turns out it was a scam. But a lot of people don't know that. That was kind of his context for the day. And so, again, a better way to answer the phone, sure. And we've dealt with that and polished up on that.
So that helped us. It really did help us. And trying to think through social media presence as well, what we're posting, how we're representing, those kind of things, and to be careful and cautious about social media. because it can and will be used against you, which forms the basis for why you felt the need to address some of these things to our church family because of accusations about things that, personal things.
Yeah.
And really it blows back on the church, like the church is funding this.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
no.
So these are the main things. Let me just walk through these real quick. I just responded to these to our church that night. Number one, Germantown Baptist Church refused to. These are the accusations. Okay, Germantown Baptist Church refused to help a crying baby who hadn't eaten in a day or two. False. Again, it was staged. It was a fake scenario, and so I just needed to make sure our church understood that. Number two, Germantown Baptist Church doesn't care about babies and children. False. Germantown Baptist Church partners with a lot of different ministries in our city and Shelby County to help families with food and clothes, along with other immediate needs, including crisis pregnancy things that deal with babies and trying to get food to babies and backpacks to kids that don't.
And our kids ministry
on.
at GBC is killer, man. It's awesome.
Yeah. So number three, Germantown Baptist Church misused funds designated for our renovation project, including insurance money after the flooding of the church. False. Yeah, that's an accusation that this lady from Chicago leveled at us, that if you follow the money, we have misused. So a couple of years ago we had a flood at our church, a burst pipe, and because of that we had to renovate our church building, and so it took millions of dollars to do because we have a large facility, and we were already planning a kind of a renovation anyway of our worship center, so we kind of bundled it all in one thing. We renovated the worship center and we repaired lots of the church that was damaged from the water. And so a lot of that was insurance money, and that was money that was given by our church to fund all of that. And we were able to get out of that project debt free. God's people gave and that, along with insurance money, we were able to do all the repairs and the renovation debt free.
And by the way, that spans the better part of 2, maybe 3 years. And we are audited by an external auditor. They see every expenditure, everything, insurance, everything in these reports, and it's all square.
Yeah, and I don't know if our church knows this or not. I'm not really sure. I don't know if we actually talk about it from the pulpit. I know I don't. But yeah, you make a really good point. Our church needs to know we're audited every year. We submit ourselves to this audit.
We do.
A firm comes to GBC. They take up space here in our offices for 2 or 3 days. They go through files, conversations. They do. It's a very good.
We pay for it, tens of thousands of dollars to be audited, so that our books would be accurate.
Yeah, it's a very good audit. And pass it every single time with flying colors. So the accusation was that we've misused funds. And I told everybody that we have an accounting of every dollar that we spend, designated offerings, undesignated offerings, insurance money. There are financial reports that we provide to our church every single quarter that deal with all this. We give detailed budgets of these things.
Finance committee every month looking over everything.
That's correct. So we have all the checks and balances. But I just needed to answer to that accusation. Next, Germantown Baptist Church used building funds and offerings and insurance money to purchase gifts, properties, and memberships for me as the pastor.
False. Properties, like a $2 million home in Eads. Come on, bro.
That was one of the things I was like, I found out one of the pictures that was shared on social media is this home, this $2 million home that I own, and I'm like,
you didn't even know you owned it.
I had no idea. Somebody should have told me. It's located 20 minutes from here, something like that. So
no,
anyway,
that's false.
Property, gifts, all these kind of things that the church gave me, and there's a number of them. There's a lot of them. I think I mentioned a few of them here. Here's the next thing. I siphoned off funds from the offering and insurance payments to GBC in order to purchase things for myself. False. So my point was, the church neither gave me gifts nor did I siphon off things for myself that the church didn't know anything about. I don't handle any of the finances of the church. People may not know that about me as a senior pastor. That's a choice of mine. I don't handle finances of the church. I'm not good at even handling my own finances.
Let's take that a step further. We didn't do it at the CFC, but I am responsible for the finances, and I couldn't do that.
Right.
Because I have multiple people. I can't
just
cut myself a check. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have access to funnel money to certain things. Anyways, that's really a stretch to think that you could siphon off money.
Yeah.
Even I could siphon off money.
Yeah. Well, it just shows ignorance. Really, it's ignorance. People don't. If you think that I can do that, you have no idea the way our system works. I can't siphon off any of those funds and it not be accounted for.
And
so
they might think you and I are way smarter and more creative than we actually are, because I don't even know where to begin with that thing.
I would have no idea.
Anyways,
Okay.
but it happens. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It does.
Oh, sure it does. Sure it does.
And so
and this is partly why it gets traction on social
yes,
media.
and it resonates with people.
Yes,
yes.
There are fools out there who do that kind of thing,
Right.
who siphon off millions of dollars from their church,
Right.
embezzlement, everything else, and then they get caught for it 10 years later, and they've spent millions of dollars that nobody knew about. Well, it happens.
it's
It does
terrible.
happen, and that's why it gets the clicks that it does, like it did with us. But anyway,
Yeah.
so I answered to that. Number next, GBC gave or I used money to purchase a Corvette for my wife.
Old model, like a C3.
Yeah,
I don't know
remember.
what
That's
it was.
Also false. That was a picture. Okay, so here's how social media works.
Right.
The lady responsible for all this social media campaign against us, what she might even try to call it investigative journalism, independent
Little
investigative.
internet sleuth.
It's
Yeah.
really bad if that's
It's
what she's
terrible.
doing. It's not investigative at all. It's a lot of assumptions. So she grabbed a picture, a screen grab from my social media from a long time ago, years ago now, several years ago. When I first got to, let me tell you the story, okay? Because I don't know if people know this story. So when I got to GBC years ago, our oldest son, at the time he was a senior in high school. And so where we moved from in Mississippi, he was going to finish his senior year.
Yeah.
We committed that to him. We left him behind. He lived with some friends. We moved on to Memphis so that he could finish his senior year and we wouldn't take him out of school during that period of time. So we left him there. Well, one of the things that he got chosen for in his senior year was to be in the prom, to be in the parade. All right, it was to be in the parade.
yeah.
The parade. He got
Homecoming
chosen.
thing.
Homecoming. That's it. Not prom. The homecoming parade. And so he got chosen to be what do you call it? Is an escort or something like that. Well, the dude, the escort provides the car, right? Well, I don't have a car for that, and so I didn't at the time, and so I call a buddy of mine who's a church member at the church that I'm brand new at. I haven't been here maybe a year, so I called him and said he's got several Corvettes and has done well for himself. So I called him and I said, hey, would you mind me borrowing one of your Corvettes, the convertible, and so that I can host my son as an escort in the parade? And he said, love for you to, great, proud for you to take it. So I took the Corvette, and actually he said, take it going down there. And so we had it for a couple of days, right? So I get the car, I come to the church, or I go somewhere, I can't remember where, I pick my wife up, I'm like, let's go riding for a minute. And so we get in the Corvette. So finally, she got in the driver's seat of the Corvette to pose so we can have a fun picture, And
we all
I
do
actually
that stuff.
posted the picture. I think
Yeah.
like thanks to whatever for letting me borrow the Corvette. Well, this TikTok lady screen grabbed that from years ago on social media, and she put that out there as if that is proof that I have used insurance money, or the church gave me insurance, whatever, that I've embezzled it somehow, and I've bought a Corvette for my wife. And
Without the caption where you articulated, hey, thanks for letting us borrow the.
whatever. So anyway, false. All right, I did not buy a Corvette. Although let me say, I don't owe an answer to anybody for what I do with my own money.
Correct.
Okay, if I get
Correct.
that money, honestly, I've made the
You
money.
wanna buy
I
a
didn't
Corvette,
invest,
buy a Corvette.
whatever. I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't buy a Corvette, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Okay, I mean, there are
Yeah.
guys that have Corvettes and they bought it. They saved up their money, or they. Who cares? Who knows?
I know.
How they got the Corvette. All right, so here's the next one. GBC gave or I used church money to purchase a membership at a country club in Florida. Of a really nice country club membership, by the way.
Which is false.
By
the way, we don't pay for a country club membership here in
Here.
Germantown for you. For the
I
record.
should have made that part of the deal when I came. Well, I'd really like to have a country club.
Yeah.
As bad as I play golf, it wouldn't have done me
Still.
any good. Yeah, wouldn't have. Anyway, so again, it's a screen grab off of social media that I put on. I had gone. A friend invited me to go play at this country club in Florida. Right, I go down, I play golf. We go into the pro shop. I'm like, I'm buy me a shirt.
Yeah.
I bought me a shirt.
Yeah.
It has the name of the country club on it. And so she screen grabbed that and assumed that I must have a membership there. And because it's very expensive, all you have to do is Google it and try to figure out how much it is.
$75,000 a year.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so if you do that, and this lady is assuming that I, being a pastor, would only have that kind of money, maybe if I were extremely rich, or I'm
Embezzling.
siphoning off money,
Mhm.
right, from the church or insurance money. Just I played golf there one time, and poorly, I might add. Okay. And I even said I also have shirts I purchased that have Mississippi State on them, and I never attended Mississippi State. And I also said I also have Nike and Under Armour and Columbia shirts, to name a few, and I don't own any of them either.
No.
Whatever.
Oh.
Okay. The next one I said GBC gave and or I used church money to purchase a $2 million house in Eads.
That's what I was thinking
Yeah,
about.
false.
False.
Again, the picture that was used to make that false accusation, I really can't answer to. That was not a screen grab.
Where'd it come from?
No earthly idea. I've never looked at that house, seen that house, never been to that house in Eads. I have no idea where it came
That's
from.
wild.
It wasn't on my social media. I have
No,
no
that's
idea
pure
where
out of the blue.
the person got this from.
Yeah.
Okay, nice house, I guess, but I said even though it might be nice, I've never purchased or owned or even been gifted or rented a house in Eads, Tennessee. Next, GBC gave and or I used money to purchase season tickets and or courtside season tickets for the Memphis Grizzlies.
Okay.
Okay, false.
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 Why?
Screen
Because
grab.
you went
Screen
to a
grab,
Grizzly game and
yes.
took a picture?
There are pictures of me at a Grizzlies game with my wife, and I believe I'm right about this. I still think I'm right. I've never even purchased a ticket to a Grizzlies game.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone with people who have tickets,
Right.
been gifted something.
Yeah.
You know, somebody's like, "Hey, I got tickets. We're not going to the game. You want these? Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll take them. Whatever." I've been to some games like that, but
Yeah,
I don't
same.
think I've ever even. Okay, so anyway, the games we've attended have been because friends gave us the tickets, right? Next, GBC gave and or I used church money to purchase season tickets to the Orpheum, which is the
Here in
theater
Memphis.
here in Memphis.
Mhm.
That's false.
Right.
That's false. We've been to the Orpheum a handful of times by purchasing tickets of our own, or we've had somebody else give us their tickets, but never had season tickets to. Again, who cares?
They just
It's,
assume.
if it were my money and I bought season tickets, it's nobody's business. But the assumption is, I'm embezzling money from the church, therefore I'm
and
purchasing
the
one.
assumption is you're way more cultured than they think.
Okay,
Season tickets
that's
to
fair.
the Orpheum?
That's fair.
I mean,
Okay,
I can
they
see you
clearly
spending a lot
don't
of
know
money
me.
on a lot of stuff, but
Yeah.
I'd be like saying I would have,
Yeah.
I mean, I'd go to see, but see, I don't.
They clearly don't know me, dude.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So here's another one. I serve on the board of the Filter Project,
Mhm.
a charitable organization that was begun by one of our church members to share the gospel and to provide clean water to people of Kenya.
Mhm.
That is true.
That is true.
I do serve on that board,
Yes, you do.
which I love, by the way, and
Mhm.
enjoy serving with them. And I was asked to serve on that board, and I do so
Yeah.
with pride, and gladly. So, but again, that was kind of linking some things in the social media frenzy that I'm somehow I've got appointed to this board. Well, that is true.
Probably
but,
laundering money.
But
through
where that's
some-
where that was going is that based on that the Filter Project was laundering money from the church through my connection, and that's because the Filter Project also got spun up for
It
a
did,
brief
I remember
moment
that.
by
Yep.
this lady on social media, and they got dinged, but they haven't done anything wrong. But it was a connection that they assumed. Here's the next one. I've used my place on the board of the Filter Project to supply money from Germantown Baptist Church to them. And again, it's false. There's no
False.
embezzling. There's no funneling money somewhere in an under-the-table kind of way, to a board or to anybody else for that matter.
We have a missions committee. We
Yeah.
support 11 or 12 different missions organizations.
Yes.
Filter Project is one of
Is one of them.
them,
Yes, they are.
but that's determined by our missions committee.
That's right. That's because of the connection to our church.
Yep.
The next one is my wife, Nikki Wildman Brown, is her name. You can look her up.
Mhm.
Is related to one of the board members of the Filter Project, whose name is Clay Wildman, and because of that connection, the church is underhandedly funding the Filter Project or laundering money.
Your wife putting some pressure on us. for you. False.
Which is so funny because if you go look up the board members of the Filter Project, Clay Wildman is one of those.
Yeah.
I've met Clay. I
Spelled
don't
the
know
same?
Clay. Yeah, spelled the same.
Oh, yeah.
But Nikki is a Wildman.
Yeah.
There is no family
No relation.
connection. Yeah, the assumption is, oh, they're related. That's how they're embezzling money, is through the connection. This kind of stuff, I'm sure, happens in politics and happens in churches.
Sure, it does.
Okay,
Yeah.
but I will I will say, if anyone has ever wondered, I am also not related to James Brown, the godfather of soul,
True.
although my
True.
last name is Brown. I mean,
Yeah.
you could make some false connections all along the way. All right.
I don't think I'm related to Jimmy Carter. I don't think so. But
What?
who knows?
Okay. All right. Here's a previous insurance company that Elliot Stovall, the CEO of the Filter Project, worked for, underwrote our insurance claim for GBC for the renovation.
That is definitely false.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
100% false.
We had a totally different insurance company. Had nothing to do with the CEO of Filter Project.
And
But
after they
these
helped us
were-
out, they dropped us.
Yeah, they did.
Right?
They did.
Yeah,
Here's the money,
love
but
y'all.
we
See ya.
don't want y'all anymore. So again, the connections are being made between him and must be connections. That's how we got all this money and embezzled money. The design company and the architect and the construction company who worked on the church renovation have been used by Germantown Baptist Church for dishonest gains.
That's false.
Yeah, false.
Yep.
Next one. I'm sure there are other allegations about me in Germantown Baptist Church, and I'll answer to each one of them. The one lady on TikTok and others who have followed her, who have spun a web of falsehoods and offered them to the public on social media as possible grounds for money laundering, extortion, misappropriation, or any host of other criminal activity, are liars. And there is no other way to put that. You can assume, you can make assumptions, you can call it what you want to, but it's lies.
Here, this is important to kind of review this kind of stuff because it's absurd. It's all absurd. But you even said this. We are accountable to Germantown Baptist Church. We're entrusted with leadership.
Absolutely.
We have areas of responsibility, including finance.
Absolutely.
And so accountability is there.
Yeah.
So if some of that felt like it was eroded in the minds of our people, we just wanted you to hear some of these accusations. And I mean, we could get 40, 50 other people up on the stage who are intimately involved with all of these
Correct.
details and say, nope, 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 nope. So the fact that you had to get up there and do that, man, I hate that you had to do that, but you
Well,
did it, and it.
It was something I was willing to do because I felt like the pressure of the church family was under, was the pressure of the issues that were raised potentially creating doubt. It not proof, but just, is our pastor really taking money? Is he really doing that? If that created, and I felt in the moment, the pressure that was created on our people was just producing doubt in the hearts of people toward their, not just me, but other leadership, but especially me. And I wanted to answer to that and just say, look, I'm perfectly okay with being accountable to the church that I serve. I am accountable, not just in the way that I live my life, my character, but also financially, the way that we appropriate funds around here and do those kind of things. All of that is there for people to see.
Correct.
And but there again, we have to involve an attorney and get counsel, and what do we do with all this kind of stuff? And
because it felt like slander. And it not just on the church, but on you as a person, an individual, accusatory. That seemed to me, I mean, that are there no repercussions? Can anybody just get out on social media and say these accusatory, grandiose things with no accountability?
Yeah, and this is one of the things I learned in all that is that when you watch these podcasts or these TikTok videos that this lady has put out there, she knew what she was doing. She was clever.
Yeah.
Because she would never say anything, falsify information. She would offer this information and then basically ask her followers, these are the things that it looks like.
What do y'all
What
think?
is your conclusion?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Could be.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that does is create doubt and then spins other people up in these other kind of videos and comments. But here's why that's clever, is that, again, based on good legal counsel, if you say, and this is a learning process for us, but if you say anything, even on social media, about someone as truth that is false, that's slander.
Right.
And there is room for litigation.
Yeah.
But she didn't quite cross that.
Very
well,
clever.
it's actually debatable whether she crossed that line.
It is debatable, especially for you as an individual.
Yes, because of the things that she was accusing me of.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, she got very close to it.
Well,
Entering that slander realm.
You and I both knew, and we were holding the line on this idea because there was a lot of pressure because it was churning. We knew this is going to fade away and be gone.
Sure.
And it did.
Yeah.
But the moment isn't lost because I felt like we took the opportunity to learn or to think or discern what kind of lessons are there for us in this. We knew the intensity of it, the accusation, all this stuff. The next thing is going to pop up, and they're going to be on to that other thing, which turned out to be Taylor Swift, by the way. So
I think Taylor Swift said something,
yeah,
and she
and they were
diverted
on
her
to the next
attention.
thing.
Yeah.
So we recognized that, but we did do a process of discernment on all of it, really, and just saying, hey, does the Lord have something for us to learn out of this, to be a better gospel witness, to be clearer on our mission and our values and how we serve, and we did.
Yeah.
We learned some lessons.
Yeah, and as I've thought about it, there's a few that I'll try to at least verbalize some lessons that we learned. There are plenty of others, and there were other accusations as well. I didn't mention all of them, but some of them were just more funny and maybe dumb than the other ones. But
I will say this though, you are the only person I know that has had a South Park cartoon made of you.
Yeah, I have. It was not produced by
No, it's
South Park,
yeah.
but South Park-ish. It's South Park flavor.
The look of South Park.
Oh, it was
created
incredible.
this whole thing. It was remarkable.
It was incredible.
It wasn't funny at the time, but I mean, looking back, it's like, wow.
I know. It
Somebody
makes me
did
mad
that.
even if I look at it again. But it is kind of funny that I look like a South Park character. And
Yes,
it's me. It's my
you.
shirt. It's in this podcast studio,
Yeah,
actually, is what
yes.
it's the setting. And it's just this rant about how hypocritical we are. But
Yeah.
it is kind of funny.
It's just like, man.
It wasn't funny then. I was mad. You were happy about it. You were laughing
I was
like, look at this. And I'm like,
intrigued by it.
dude,
But
don't show me that again.
yeah.
I was
It wasn't a
mad.
time.
I could
Wasn't
actually
a time.
one time. But anyway, some lessons that we kind of learned.
Yeah.
One, we revisited our policies.
We did.
And things that we just can we shape these a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, we didn't really change a lot of our policy because we were already doing certain
Mm-hmm.
things. But we were able to kind of revisit it, say let's look at this a little bit better, and help
clarify
our
our
church navigate
practice
it.
around some of those things. Because honestly, the core of it, whether they intended it or not, we really do love people. We really do want to help and serve people. And can we do that in a better way, better practical way?
Yeah.
Of 100%.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So,
with
great.
everything.
Mhm.
The second thing I learned: some people only believe what they hear
Yeah.
on social media.
Yeah.
If it's said on social media, they take it as truth, and they don't want any nuance. They don't want a context.
No.
They just assume it's true. And I learned that. Man, I hate that.
Yep.
But it is true, and at least maybe it helps me learn. I don't need to be one of those that just simply believes what I hear or see on social media. The third thing, some people are convinced that you must identify with everyone's issues on social media and that you must defend yourself on social media.
Yeah. I got a lot to say about this, bro.
I do too. We need to have a separate podcast on just social media and the church
Agreed.
and the culture that we're living in and how to address that from a biblical worldview.
I think we
'cause it's,
should. We'll follow up with that. There's a lot of takeaways in our cultural moment.
There really are. But to say that some people are just convinced that when something is done on social media, you have to weigh in on it. If it's to defend yourself, it's to agree. If it's to disagree, and if you do or don't, that says a lot about you, and that's what the social media culture has produced. And this was one of these instances where I was learning that. The next one: many people believe what they assume is true without seeking answers from those who can give them.
I think that stings the most probably in this process is like the things that were assumed about you or about us, and we know these folks, we love these folks. Pick up the phone, have a phone call.
Yeah, I had very few people that actually called me and said, "Can I come sit down and talk with you about this issue?" Very few.
Yeah.
One or two of those were really just accusatory. Came to kind of jump on the bandwagon and say, "You got that wrong. You're arrogant. You're all these other kind of things." not asking for context, not asking
Yeah.
for clues to say, was that correct? Was that not asking questions? Here's one of the things I've learned long ago, and I've tried to teach our staff this, and I think it's good for this podcast for everybody to hear. When there's an accusation, when there's an issue that comes up, the best way to approach that with leadership or with anybody else is to ask questions instead of accuse.
100%.
Ask questions instead of
Yeah.
accuse.
Seek clarity.
Yeah. Come and say,
Yeah.
hey, this is what I saw on TikTok. Is there anything that's truthful about that?
Mhm.
Or how should I understand that? Or are we doing anything to help? Not,
Mhm.
you're not doing anything to help.
Mhm.
That's accusation. That does not ask for context or
Right.
clarity or nuance in any way. That is simply accusatory,
Mm.
and it's wrong. And
is.
people are too critical about that kind of stuff and don't know how to do that. Go to a brother and sister and say,
Yeah.
"Can we have a I got some questions."
Yeah.
Let's start there.
I mean,
Start
'cause
there.
anybody I think who has done that, sat down with you and me or anybody else, that's a conversation, and we have those conversations, and it's
Yeah.
worthwhile.
And I
You
will
know.
say, and I really don't mean to be too hard, heavy-handed here. But occasionally, and it's not only for this issue but others, you have church members that leave and get
It
upset.
hurts.
And a lot
Yeah.
of times, okay, I'm better with that if they've had a conversation with leadership at least
Mhm.
and ask questions. Those who just assume they must be wrong, they're doing things wrong, I'm going to go ahead and leave because I'm angry without ever having those kinds of conversations, that's kind of what hurts. It seems that they're assuming that they know truth without seeking that truth from those who can answer those
Which
questions.
honestly it's foolishness.
It is.
It's
And
foolishness.
It is, and I've learned through
Mhm.
this that some people have it. Not a ton of people. There, a few, but
Mhm.
but anyway. Next, the another lesson I've learned personally is the trust in church leadership is mixed.
Yeah.
You will have church members in leadership, in church leadership that will trust just about anything you do and say.
That's true.
You have other
That's true.
church members that will distrust and not believe pretty much anything about you. And then the majority are in between.
Yeah.
But there are some who just, when things like this come up, immediate reaction is distrust leadership.
Mhm.
What's on social media must be true,
gotta be
or
true.
if it possibly is true, our leadership is all messed up, and I don't believe them. I don't love them. I'm out.
Where
They're a
does
bunch
that
of
come
evil
from?
sinners. I don't know. Maybe it's a
Like
lack.
if, I
don't
think
know.
if we had some self-awareness and we recognize, okay, well, we've squandered leadership capital or made some dumb decisions or we've been mean to people, whatever, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the case. It's like,
No.
what is that instinct, that impulse
Yeah.
to just kind of go that direction?
Well, especially in
Yeah.
this instance when it's a TikTok thing that was false to begin
Mhm.
with. I mean, that ought to tell you some things that the temperature could be lowered pretty quickly if people
Right.
would go, okay, wait a minute, this was false to begin with. Let me now seek some clarity.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I've had to learn some lessons about that.
Well, it is, not to make another plug, but one of the things that Brad Edwards is saying in this book is that the distrust in institutions and authoritative structures in general, culturally, is affecting the church in a lot of different
That's
ways.
correct.
And so I think that
That is
probably
correct.
is at play in some sense.
Here's another lesson. I will affirm that answering the public on social media is not necessarily helpful. Because I will double down on that. I think we were right in saying I'm not answering the public on social media. I believe I was correct in that.
I do too.
I still feel like there was no need, even after it's over, to answer anybody on social media publicly. There are exceptions to that, but you referred to this book. I read this. I was reading this chapter on I think it's the chapter on counterfeit institutions is what he calls it, and he mentioned something in here that traditional media outlets were among the first to show signs of performative pressure.
Yeah.
He says that's the
Yeah,
world
yeah.
that social media has created is performative pressure.
Yeah.
You are always under pressure to perform for the public. Say things, defend things, agree with things, disagree with things. That's the pressure created by social media. And if you don't disagree with something, then you're complicit. If you agree with this, then you can quickly be on the wrong side of
Yep.
things, and on and on and on. But you must perform for the culture.
Yep.
And people have bought that
Hook,
line, and sinker. I'm telling you,
Yep,
people
they have.
have bought it.
And just
and they
cave under that pressure all the time.
Every single thing that comes up, they feel like, oh, I got to say something.
Yep.
No, you
No, you
don't.
don't.
What world is it that we live in that you
and I don't
got
know-
to say something?
I don't know who came up with that phrase, but virtue signaling.
Yes.
It's like you're trying to signal some kind of empathy or I don't know what it is, that you've got to prove whatever it is that
Yeah.
the pressure to perform is calling you
Yes,
to do.
it's performative pressure.
Or we're going to cancel you.
Yes, that's exactly
You
right.
know.
We're in that culture. We have been in for a while, but
Mhm.
it seems like it tends to get amped up and things like this.
Yeah.
Another thing that I learned is that accountability in social spaces is false.
Mm.
What I mean by that is social media world is if you decide that you're going to offer accountability because people are expecting that accountability, it's a false space. The people are not really looking for genuine accountability
Right.
or good answers. As we've said before, fire is what spreads a whole lot faster than other pieces of good news.
Mhm.
You barely hear the good news of correct accountability, good answers, a right
I
process.
agree.
It's the criticism that gets the spin. It's the criticism that gets the likes, the shares on social media world, and then therefore that's what constrains you to have to perform.
Yep.
And I, for one, I have given into that long ago in the past, and I regret it. I got spun
Agreed.
up into something on social media before, and I felt like, oh, I got to say something, only to find out later I was an idiot because the time went by and found out some facts, and I realized I should have shut my mouth. I don't know why I just opened my mouth and inserted my foot. And I realized that the performative pressure
Yeah.
of social media creates an immediacy.
Yep.
You better say something now.
Doesn't matter if you're wrong.
No,
Just say something.
no. It signal your virtue, signal where you are, perform, and that is what our culture has bought. And
I agree, dude. That's a hard lesson to
I hate
learn.
it. And
And the flip side of that is, if you're a person who processes information, wants to be certain before you speak, this whole idea that silence is complicity in something.
no.
Well, what if actually I have a different opinion than you on a subject, and I perform that? Well,
Yeah.
what's going to happen? Well, man, it's conflict.
Yep. Arguing.
And
Yep.
you're going to cancel me anyway, destroy me anyway, because I disagree with actually your take on it.
That's right.
So it's just, that's a hard lesson to learn,
Yeah.
and folks still haven't learned it because we're in that whole thing right now in our culture.
I
Just
know.
a massive jump on this thing, and
Yep.
if you're this way, you should be speaking out. And I'm like, man, when y'all gonna learn?
I know.
When y'all
There
gonna
is
learn?
always necessary accountability. There's accountability everywhere, should be in every organization. It should be healthy accountability. I'm not arguing against accountability. I'm simply saying some kind of expectation in the social media space is a false accountability.
I think that's well said. I think it's well said.
All right, so
Yeah.
we gotta hurry. We gotta wrap
Yeah.
this up. We've spent way too much time on this, but hopefully a benefit for our church family. But
I hope so.
I think in some ways this has impacted our church family, both positively and maybe some negative stuff, but mostly I think positively. Tons of people have come to us and said, you handled it right. Thank you, Pastor, for explaining what we do. Thank you for doing this. So we've been able to sort of receive that positive encouragement from our church family, and that's been really helpful. We talk about the negative on a podcast like this. It's not that our whole church was negative toward us.
That's right.
But
That's
you,
right.
you feel the pressure of the social media world, and that's kind of what we're getting at. But I do want to, if I can close this, and we'll let you finish the final segment. Just some encouragement maybe to other pastors and churches that are maybe worried about this kind of stuff, getting spun up in this kind of stuff. Let me just say as an encouragement, number one, take a look at your mission and how you're prepared to help.
That's good.
Just go sit down with how you do these things, how you minister to the community, how you're doing missions around the world, how you're funneling money in different places, what your budget looks like. Are there good checks and balances? Are there good pieces of accountability, both within the structure of the ministry, external audit, those kind of things? See how you're doing those things and see that you're doing them well. Take a look at how you even answer people on the phone. I mean, that's kind of be a simple thing, but although elementary, very helpful for you and your staff and your church, just to revisit that conversation. Hey, how do we really do this?
Well, many of the churches that failed that campaign experiment, I would probably say 90% of that was just unprepared on the phone.
Yeah.
And it's probably not at all
Yeah.
the scope of your thing. It's just
Yeah.
you weren't ready for it.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
That's all. So anyway, those are just two things. Just encourage any church, any pastor,
I like
whether
that.
you're spun up in any kind of social media controversy, do that now. Do
Yeah.
that now. So
I
anyway.
love that, man. Man, thank you for kind of walking through that again. You
It's
know, I
long.
think I think this all the time too. Is man, I don't know that people realize the kind of toll, personal toll, spiritual, emotional, mental, that stuff like that takes on leaders, and just having to navigate that kind of stuff, still do the normal rhythms of ministry of
Yeah.
preaching, counseling, and teaching, and loving on folks and serving.
It's hard. Some people do
it's
this
tough.
every day.
Yeah, I
They
don't know
do
how.
this every
I
day.
don't know
They
how.
live through this kind of murder on social media.
Yeah,
This is like the second time I've ever
It's
been
on
murdered
thick
on
skin.
social media. I'm like, woo! I don't see how people
once
do
is enough. You've
But
been
some-
twice.
it. But some people do it. Some people do it.
Well, listen, we like to typically end our podcast with a segment of some kind, a little personal insight behind the scenes, whatever. Let's think about, we do one called Did You Know? Did You Know? Random. So it could be personal, it could be whatever. Did you know? I have one. You want to go first? You want me to go?
I'll go first.
Okay, go ahead.
You know the hashtag,
Yes.
the pound sign.
Mhm.
You know, there's a name for that. It's called an octothorpe.
An octothorpe.
Yeah, it has 8 points on it. I'm just saying that's what it's called.
I did not know that.
Hashtag. You
I
could all
did
go around
not
and say
know that.
octothorpe. That's what you say.
We should do pound octothorpe.
Yeah.
You know, just start a movement.
Let's do that. Okay. Did you
Honestly,
know? Did
truly,
You know? Yeah.
no, I did not know.
Okay.
All right. Did you know? Because this is really relevant to me and you, and to Nason, our producer, some of
Okay.
our friends. Did you know that Call of Duty has 100 million monthly players at its peak on any given cycle of the year? 250 million people playing Call of Duty,
Wow. I did not know that.
and there are 3 of them sitting in this room.
Yeah.
Okay.
we make up
Or-
3 of the
We're not
100 million.
really any good.
No.
We enjoy it,
It's
and
fun.
we've met some fun people on that space. We've got some pastors that play with us at times, friends. But that is such a franchise, and if you pay attention to Call of Duty and that kind of franchise and how they go back and forth, sometimes they get it really, dialed in. It's really a good game. Then they come out with a new one, and it's terrible. And there's all these problems and stuff. And, it's streamers, and this is maybe part of the social aspect we've been talking about related to gaming, that if a streamer who predominantly plays Call of Duty as one of the 100 million that play every month, and they're really good and they compete and do stuff, and they badmouth Call of Duty for a whole number of things, and Call of Duty doesn't respond and fix, and then all of the other streamers pile onto that,
Yeah.
man, they lose millions of active players
Talking about
that go on
social
to something
media
else.
influence right there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Discord, YouTube, Twitch. I mean, a lot of different channels that you'll see some of these guys doing this stuff. Man, it can have an adverse effect if you don't lean into. I mean, because these people have skin in the game.
Yeah, they
I
do.
mean, this is
Yeah,
what they
yeah,
do
right.
for you with your
Yep.
product, and so very interesting. But I'm proud to be one of the 100. And look, when we let it die for months. And we had a
long
massive ice storm here in the Mid-South, and I didn't lose power. I still had power.
Yeah,
You still had
yeah,
power.
still had power.
And I think it was like day 4 of the ice storm. We're locked in, and I think you said download Call of Duty. And I was like, let's go. So it did. And we jumped back in. It's like riding a bicycle.
Yeah, it's fun.
Anyways,
it's
we love it.
A total waste of time, but
Yeah.
it is a lot of fun to jump in with some guys that we know and have fun conversation.
Because
and
that could spin
laugh
off into a lot of
together.
things. I mean, you think about 100 million monthly active players, and what it costs to produce these kind of games. And I talked to, when we get Pastor Dawson Hole on the program, it'd be interesting to talk about even like the musical score behind. There's music all in these games, and I have a nephew. I don't know. He married into our family. Anyways, he works and he does music compositions. He's been on games
Really?
and created scores
That's
from
interesting.
movies, Mission Impossible. He was a part of that, did some stuff. So a lot of people have a lot of different
That's cool.
aspects in this world. And so now you know, if you didn't know what an octothorpe was and all the random stuff about Call of Duty. But we're so glad that you choose to listen to the Gospel Rain podcast. We enjoy one another's company. We enjoy talking about these kinds of things together. And join us back again next time as we join you once again for the Gospel Rain podcast.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Gospel Rain. Find us online at germantownbaptist.org/gospelrain for more information and a full list of our episodes. We hope you'll join us for another conversation next week on Gospel Rain.